I never thought a text message sent by mistake would completely transform my life. David's voice breaks as he stares directly into the camera, tears threatening to spill. If you're watching this and feeling like your world is falling apart, please stay until the end. What happened to me might just give you the hope you need today. He takes a deep breath, wiping away a tear. If this story touches your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing. Your support helps share stories like mine with others who might desperately need to hear them. 3 years ago, David Parker's life was unraveling at the seams. At 35, he was a single father to 8-year-old Emma after losing his wife Sarah to cancer. The medical bills had drained their savings, forcing David to take a demanding position at Horizon Technologies, a job that required long hours and frequent travel. Every day felt like an impossible balancing act between being there for his daughter and keeping the job that put food on their table. David's mother had helped with Emma during the first year after Sarah's death, but her own health was declining, and she could no longer manage the energetic child. Neighbors and after-school programs filled some gaps, but David constantly worried about Emma feeling abandoned. The guilt ate at him daily, especially when he missed her school play because of a last-minute client meeting demanded by Miranda Wells, the no-nonsense CEO of Horizon Technologies. Miranda had a reputation for being brilliant but cold. At 42, she had built Horizon from the ground up, turning it into one of the country's leading software development companies. Employees whispered about her impossible standards and lack of empathy. Some called her the Ice Queen behind her back. David had only interacted with her a handful of times, always in group settings where she fired questions with laser precision and expected flawless answers. That fateful Tuesday, David was rushing through the airport, having just learned his flight home was delayed yet again. Emma had been sick that morning, nothing serious, but enough to make leaving her with the babysitter feel like another failure in his growing collection. As he collapsed into a chair at the gate, he pulled out his phone to text Sarah's mother, who often provided emotional support despite living across the country. "I miss you," he typed, "and I'm failing at everything. Emma deserves better than half a dad." His thumb hit send before he realized he had selected the wrong contact. The message had gone to Miranda Wells, whose number was in his phone following a recent all-hands company directory update. Horror washed over him as he realized his mistake. He quickly typed another message, "I apologize, Ms. Wells. That message was meant for someone else. Please disregard." Then he turned off his phone, certain he had just sealed his professional fate. The next 24 hours passed in a blur of anxiety. David managed to get home, tuck Emma into bed, and prepare for what would surely be his last day at Horizon. He needed that job desperately. The health insurance alone was worth the stress, covering Emma's therapy and the remaining medical bills. When he arrived at the office the following morning, his desk phone rang almost immediately. Miranda's executive assistant informed him that the CEO wanted to see him in her office, immediately. David straightened his tie, took a deep breath, and made the long walk to the top floor, rehearsing explanation and apology. Miranda's office was exactly what you'd expect, minimalist, immaculate, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She sat behind a glass desk, reviewing documents with the same intensity she brought to everything. When David entered, she looked up with an unreadable expression. "Sit down, Parker," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her. David complied, his heart hammering against his ribs. "About yesterday's text," he began, but she cut him off with a raised hand. "Who was it meant for?" Her voice was even, controlled. David hesitated, then decided honesty was his only option. "My mother-in-law. I was having a moment of weakness. My daughter was sick, I was stuck at the airport, and I felt like I was failing her." Miranda studied him for what felt like an eternity. Then she did something completely unexpected. She closed her laptop. "Tell me about your daughter," she said. Confused but seeing no alternative, David talked about Emma, her love of astronomy, her struggle with losing her mother, her resilience despite everything life had thrown at her. As he spoke, something in Miranda's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. "You have a meeting-free day tomorrow," she stated after he finished. "Take it off. Be with your daughter." David blinked in surprise. "Thank you, but there's the Jensen proposal due." "I'm aware of your workload, Parker. That wasn't a suggestion." She opened her laptop again, a clear dismissal. Bewildered but grateful, David spent the next day with Emma, taking her to the Science Museum and enjoying an uninterrupted day together for the first time in months. When he returned to work, he found an email in his inbox from HR about a new flexible work arrangement program. He had been selected as part of the pilot group. It would allow him to work from home 2 days a week and adjust his hours around Emma's school schedule. Weeks passed, and David noticed other subtle changes. His travel requirements decreased. His team was assigned an additional member, reducing everyone's workload. During a department meeting, Miranda announced a company-wide evaluation of work-life balance policies. Then came the parent-teacher conference David had been dreading. Emma's teacher had concerns about her emotional well-being and academic performance. The conference was scheduled for 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, the middle of a workday during their busiest season. David requested the time off, prepared to use one of his precious few remaining personal days. To his shock, Miranda appeared at his desk that Wednesday morning. "I understand you have a school meeting today," she said matter-of-factly. "I'll be joining you." David stammered in confusion, but she continued, "We're implementing a new support program for employees with caregiving responsibilities. I need first-hand research." That afternoon, David sat beside Miranda in tiny chairs in Emma's classroom, listening as the teacher outlined Emma's struggles with attention and emotional regulation, common responses to grief, she explained. Throughout the meeting, Miranda took notes, asked insightful questions about educational support systems, and never once checked her phone. As they walked back to their cars afterward, Miranda stopped suddenly. "My sister died when I was 40, she said, looking somewhere past David's shoulder. "Cancer. She left behind 2 children. My niece and nephew live with their father in Chicago now. I see them twice a year." She turned to face David directly. "I understand more than you might think." 2 days later, Horizon announced a new on-site childcare center would open within 6 months. A week after that, the company introduced expanded bereavement leave and grief counseling services for employees and their families. A month later, a college scholarship fund for children who had lost a parent was established in partnership with a national grief support organization. 6 months passed. David's work life had transformed. His new schedule allowed him to be present for Emma while still excelling professionally. She was thriving with the help of the company's new family support resources. David occasionally saw Miranda observing the construction of the childcare center, but they rarely spoke directly. Until the anniversary of Sarah's death. David had taken the day off, planning to visit the cemetery with Emma. That morning, as they prepared to leave, the doorbell rang. David opened the door to find Miranda standing on his porch, holding a small potted plant. "May I join you?" she asked quietly. "Or is this time just for family?" Emma, who had met Miranda several times during company family events, looked up at David questioningly. "We'd be honored," David replied, surprised by how much he meant it. At the cemetery, Miranda stood respectfully distant while David and Emma placed flowers on Sarah's grave. Afterward, as Emma wandered a few steps away to look at a butterfly, Miranda approached David. "I received your text that day because you needed to send it to someone who could actually help," she said softly. "Not just offer sympathy." She handed him the plant, a small bonsai tree. "This is for Emma. Something she can nurture that will last." As they walked back to the cars, Miranda stopped and turned to David. "I need someone who understands balance to lead our new family support initiative," she said. "It's a director-level position. You're my first choice." David stared at her, speechless. The position would mean better hours, higher pay, and the chance to help others facing similar struggles. Miranda leaned closer and whispered, "You're not failing, David. You're showing her how to survive the impossible. That's everything." She straightened up and added in her normal tone, "I'll need your decision by Monday." That evening, after Emma was asleep, David found himself rereading the mistaken text that had started everything. He had been so certain he was failing as a parent, as an employee, as a person. Now he understood that his struggle wasn't weakness, it was strength. Miranda had seen it before he could. The next morning, Emma helped him repot the bonsai tree into a larger container. "It needs room to grow," she explained seriously, her small fingers patting the soil with surprising gentleness. On Monday, David accepted the position. By the end of the year, Horizon's Family Support Initiative became a model for other companies nationwide. 2 years later, when a reporter asked Miranda about the program's origin during an interview, she glanced at David across the room and simply said, "Sometimes the most important innovations come from recognizing the humanity in our colleagues." Today, David leads Horizon's expanded human resources division. Emma, now 11, regularly visits the company's childcare center to read to the younger children. Miranda remains focused and demanding, but employees no longer call her the Ice Queen. Instead, they describe her as tough but fair, brilliant but compassionate. "That mistaken text message taught me something profound," David says, looking back into the camera. "Our greatest professional strength isn't ignoring our personal struggles, it's acknowledging them, sharing them, and transforming them into understanding that helps others. And sometimes, the person you think is least likely to understand your pain is the one who's been waiting for permission to share their own." David smiles as the camera pans out to reveal Emma beside him, holding the now thriving bonsai tree. If you're feeling alone in your struggle right now, remember, the connection that saves you might come from where you least expect it. All it takes is the courage to be honest about needing help. And if this story touched you, Emma chimes in with a bright smile, "Please like and subscribe to hear more stories about how one moment of vulnerability can change everything." As the screen fades, a final message appears, dedicated to all the single parents trying their best. You are enough.